Why do you think so much before falling asleep? There is a moment in the day when everything is supposed to slow down. Your body rests, the house becomes quiet, and the world finally stops. But for many people, that is exactly when something else begins. The noise starts, and it doesn't come from outside. It comes from within. You lie in bed, close your eyes, and wait for sleep to arrive. But instead, thoughts begin to appear without permission. Memories from the past. Old conversations, mistakes you thought you had already moved on from. Worries about the future. Fears that seem small during the day, but now grow stronger in the silence of the night. And you ask yourself, why does this always happen when I'm trying to rest? The truth is, it's not just your mind becoming active. It's something deeper. During the day, you are too busy to hear your own thoughts. Work, studies, problems, distractions, people, social media, everything keeps your mind constantly moving. But when night arrives and everything stops, you are left alone with what was ignored all day. And that's where the battle begins. You try to switch off, you turn to one side, then the other. You try to think about something else. You count time, you check your phone. But the more you try to control it, the more the thoughts return. And sometimes, they are not light. They feel heavy, as if the past is trying to be rewritten again. As if every mistake, every word spoken, every decision made returns to demand answers exactly when you need peace the most. And this creates something silent but powerful, anxiety. But there is something even deeper happening here. Have you ever stopped to think that maybe the problem is not only your racing mind, but what is inside it? Because the silence of the night does not create new thoughts. It only reveals the ones that were already there. During the day, you push everything forward. You push worries aside. You push pain aside. You push doubts and fears aside. But at night, you can't push anymore. And then, everything comes back. And it comes back strongly. That is why so many people struggle to sleep. Not because sleep doesn't come, but because the mind doesn't allow it. Now imagine this. A person lying in the dark, staring at the ceiling. The body is tired, but the mind is in war. They start thinking about what they should have done differently. What could have been better. What still needs to be solved tomorrow. And suddenly, tomorrow is no longer the future. It becomes pressure. And with that comes something even heavier. The feeling of being behind in life. As if everyone else is moving forward. And you are stuck. As if something is always missing. And this creates a cycle. Overthinking creates anxiety. Anxiety creates more thoughts, and more thoughts prevent rest. And so, the night that should bring peace becomes an invisible battlefield. But why does this happen to so many people? Because we live in a time where silence is rare, but thinking never stops. The human mind was not designed to be constantly stimulated the way it is today. Constant information, constant comparison, constant pressure, constant expectations. And when all of that meets the silence of the night, it doesn't disappear. It echoes. And in that echo, questions begin to rise that you don't ask during the day. Am I on the right path? What if nothing works out? What if I fail? What if I am not enough? Notice, this is not just thinking. It is insecurity disguised as reflection. And the more you try to escape it, the stronger it becomes. But there is an important point here. Not every night thought is an enemy. Some thoughts are signals. Signals of something that needs attention. Signals of emotions that were ignored. Signals of a tired mind asking for real rest. Not only physical, but emotional rest. Because you can lay your body down and still carry the entire day inside your mind. And that prevents sleep from coming. Now think carefully about this. When everything becomes silent, what truly appears is not the world. It is yourself, your worries, your pain, your expectations, your frustrations, your memories. It is as if the night opens a door that the day kept closed. And this can be uncomfortable, but also revealing. Because maybe the problem is not that you think too much before sleeping. Maybe the problem is that you didn't think enough during the day. You didn't process emotions. You didn't deal with feelings. You didn't allow your mind to rest properly. And so the mind does it on its own, at the only moment it can. But there is something many people eventually discover. When everything feels out of control, when thoughts don't stop, when anxiety rises, there comes a point where fighting it only makes it worse. And at that point, something inside begins to shift. Instead of trying to silence the mind by force, you begin to observe it. Instead of fighting thoughts, you begin to understand them. And slowly, something changes. You realize that thoughts are not commands. They are just movements of the mind. They come, and they can go. And you are not required to follow all of them. This understanding changes everything. Because before, you were carried by your thoughts. Now you start to see them as passing visitors. And this creates space for something essential. Real rest. Not just sleep, where the body shuts down, but rest, where the mind finally finds peace. And this peace does not come from outside. It begins within. When you stop carrying the entire day into the night. When you learn to release what you cannot control. When you understand that not every answer needs to be found right now. And most importantly, when you accept that you don't need to solve your entire life before sleeping. Maybe the biggest mistake is exactly that. Trying to fix everything at the moment you are supposed to rest. Now stop and think. How many times have you lost sleep trying to mentally solve problems that couldn't be solved at that moment? How many times have you replayed situations that already passed, as if you could change the past? How many times have you created future scenarios that may never even happen? All of this, while your body was asking for just one thing: rest. There is a quiet lesson in all of this. The mind speaks louder when everything becomes silent. But that doesn't mean it is always right. It only means it was waiting for silence to be heard. And when you begin to listen without getting lost, something deeply changes. You start to understand your own patterns. You start to notice what triggers your emotions. You start to see what truly steals your peace. And little by little, silence stops being an enemy and becomes a mirror. A mirror that shows what needs to be healed within you. Because in the end, overthinking before sleep is not just about sleep. It is about emotional life. It is about what you carry. It is about what you didn't resolve during the day. And also about what you still need to learn to let go of. So next time you lie down and your mind starts to race, don't just ask how to stop it. Ask what it is trying to show you. Because maybe, inside that silent chaos, there is a message. A message telling you that you need less control and more rest. Less struggle and more acceptance. Less weight and more peace. And maybe, when you learn that, the night will finally return to what it was always meant to be. A place of rest. Not of a mind at war, but of a heart at peace. And before ending, here is a question for you to reflect on. What is your mind trying to tell you when everything becomes silent?